Hi guys. So this video is kind of a part 2 to a video I made 3 years ago called Defending Idols Against Hate. I realized that even 3 years later, loads of idols get hated on by toxic stans for dumb reasons, and I had a lot of fun ranting last time, so I decided to do it again. Before we begin, I just wanted to say that this robot voice horribly mispronounces some of these idols' names, so I'm very sorry in advance. I have included captions so you guys can understand who I'm talking about. Also, I use phrases like you all or you guys, but just know that if you don't hate on these idols, then what I'm saying doesn't apply to you. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's begin. So first I am going to start with Wonyoung. I swear this poor girl gets hated on so much that I could literally make an entire video on just her. I mentioned a lot of reasons why she was hated on in my video about the hate train against IVE, but there's still so much more I didn't include. For example, controversies surrounding her behavior. I won't go into this in too much detail, but it really annoys me that edited clips of Wonyoung supposedly not going go viral all of the time, but videos that show Wonyoung caring for her members and her fans never get the same amount of attention. I know we don't know what her personality is actually like off camera, but you could say that about almost any idol. It doesn't mean you should make up this narrative that she's mean just because you're jealous of her. And yes, I do believe that this excessive hate is because of jealousy, because why else would people hate on someone who's done nothing wrong? Another reason why people hate on her is because they believe she is promoting an eating disorder. People tend to justify this by saying that a lot of young children look up to her and want to look like her, which could lead them down destructive paths to try and look like her. I totally understand where this is coming from, but you could also say this about loads of other K-pop idols. Does that make it okay? No. But if you want to speak about body image in K-pop, speak about it in general terms and don't target a specific idol. Also, it's the people who make fun of her eating habits who are also the ones accusing her of promoting an eating disorder. Like, come on, can you really not see how hypocritical that is? I am very happy that Wonyoung is able to brush off the hate. It's honestly admirable that anyone, but especially a teenage girl, can just ignore this amount of negativity and not let it change her. Next, let's talk about Leeseo. Leeseo kind of gets seen as the company's second favorite after Wonyoung, which is kind of bizarre to me because I have never heard of a company having a second favorite until I've debuted. She got so much slander for apparently fake crying at the Mama Awards after I've won. Now I have seen this clip loads of times and I genuinely cannot tell if she is really crying or not, but if she isn't, it doesn't mean she is a pick-me girl. Again, with the misuse of this term, I'm actually tired of it. Getting a big award must be very overwhelming, especially for someone of her age. If I'm correct, she was only 15 when they won that award, and it was also probably very shocking that they had won an award so early on in their career. Maybe she felt like she was going to cry but then ended up not crying, hence why she acted like that. I felt the exact same way on my last day of year 11, the entire day I felt like I was going to cry but then I ended up not crying. Just because she acted like that, it doesn't mean she is a pick-me girl, and it also doesn't mean she is not grateful for her award. She also got a lot of hate for the lip-syncing situation, which I think was just so unnecessary, and the fact that people got that angry over 2 teenagers lip-syncing is mind-blowing to me. People also think she is untalented, but if you look at the performances for IVE's recent comeback, you can really see all of their improvements, including Leeseo. Her stage presence has improved massively and she rarely lip-syncs. You guys have to remember that she is a real person and she is only 16 years old and has been in IVE since she was 14. Of course this wouldn't be okay even if she was an adult, but the industry is already harsh enough on children and hating on her for no reason is hardly going to help. So the next person we'll talk about is Yuna. Yuna is yet another victim of the misuse of the term pick-me girl. Like the video of Yuna singing Love Dive by IVE made a lot of people call her a pick-me and say she's cringy. Personally, I didn't find that video cringy, but I promise you, if you did, no one actually cares. Also, every time she is just being herself in a 2-meter radius of a male idol. People accuse her of just acting that way to get attention from that male idol, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion, because no one says this about male idols around female idols. There is also this one video where people accuse her of faking her surprised reaction when winning an award, which makes me think that if I was a K-pop idol, I'd be accused of the same thing, because when I'm shocked or scared I tend to have big reactions even when I'm alone, so just because she has these big reactions it doesn't make her an attention seeker. Finally, people accuse her of wearing hip pads. I personally couldn't tell you whether or not she wears hip pads because I don't really notice these things, but I don't see what the issue is if she is. Especially because if she does wear hip pads it's probably her stylist who is making her wear them. Just like Wonyoung, I really admire the fact that the hate doesn't seem to be affecting Yuna and she can still be herself regardless of all of the negativity surrounding her. Next person I'll be talking about is Cai Yubing from Girls Planet 999. If you didn't watch Girls Planet and you don't know why she's on this list, long story short, for one of the missions she was chosen to be the group's leader and the group were having struggles, so Mnet used evil editing to over-exaggerate the situation and make it seem like Cai Yubing was a terrible leader who wasn't taking suggestions from her teammates and was taking credit for her teammates' choreography. I feel like the viewers of Girls Planet 999 who believed the evil editing, which includes me by the way, owe Cai Yubing a massive apology because she went from being in the top 9 to being ranked 26 in 1 week and people were making fun of her dancing and saying that she was only popular for her visuals. One part of this situation that really stands out to me even to this day was when Cai Yubing cried when they were discussing the possibility of changing the killing part from her to Gia. Mnet made it seem like she was being manipulative here, but realistically, we have to realize that this is a competition and all of those girls are desperate to debut, so if they really had concerns, they should have changed the killing part even if Cai Yubing did cry. Also, they were in very stressful condition as they had to come up with entirely new and perfect choreography in just 2 weeks. I feel like it's only natural that she would cry, especially after getting criticism from the mentors on something that she's been working so hard on. I also think it's interesting that Mnet conveniently didn't say anything about the fact that the center distribution of the salute team was very evenly balanced. It's obvious that they felt threatened by the popularity of Cai Yubing, and since they couldn't manipulate the votes directly, they had to do so through evil editing. I feel like people should have been more aware of the fact that evil editing is something that Mnet love doing, especially people like me who have watched survival shows before and have seen this tactic ruin people's chances of debuting. I feel really bad that I stopped voting for Cai Yubing after this situation, but it's definitely taught me to be more skeptical of drama on these survival shows and to not let it dictate my own judgment. The next person I'll talk about is Tsuki from Billlie. When Tsuki's fancams for Jingamingeo went viral, while she got a lot of praise for her stage presence, as she should have, she also got a lot of backlash from people saying that she was doing too much. Guys, the name of the song translates to the strange world. If she didn't make those facial expressions she'd be doing it wrong. Also, all of the other members were making over-exaggerated facial expressions as well, but Tsuki seemed to be the only one getting backlash for it, which may be because her fancams were the only ones that went viral, but still. Don't even get me started on that one male idol who made fun of her facial expressions. The fact that he did it during a time when Tsuki was getting a lot of hate for her facial expressions doesn't sit right with me at all. It would have been different if he was a friend of hers, but as far as I'm aware he wasn't. However, I know that it was just a joke and he most likely didn't have bad intentions while doing this. I also appreciate the fact that he personally apologized to Tsuki, so I am not saying he's a terrible person for doing this, and I do believe that people can make mistakes and learn from them. I understand that facial expressions aren't the only things needed for good stage presence, but I feel like for a song like Jingamingeo, over-exaggerated facial expressions are needed, which is why Tsuki is one of my favorite performers in K-pop. The next person I'll talk about is Soyeon from Idol. However, before I start talking about her, I just want to say that it is completely valid if you dislike Soyeon because of the racially insensitive things she has said or done, and I am not here to defend her from backlash about that, especially because I am not a part of the community she offended. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm defending these idols against people who hate them for dumb reasons, and obviously her being insensitive like that is not a dumb reason to dislike her. Now with that being said, one of the main reasons people disliked her, especially before Sujin left Idol, was her not giving Shuhua enough lines and her not giving Sujin any rap parts despite her being a lead rapper. I understand where this comes from and I'll admit this annoyed me too, but at the end of the day, Soyeon writes and produces Idol's songs and she knows her members' strengths and weaknesses very well, so the fact that Idol stans tried to act like they knew better than her and expected the line distribution to be completely equal when some members suit some songs better than others is kind of ridiculous now that I think about it. Also, she's been recently getting backlash for cringy lyrics from Queen Card. While I understand where this comes from and I'm not going to act like I don't find the lyrics cringy, but Soyeon literally said that the entire point was for the song and music video of Queen Card to almost be a parody while still addressing a serious topic of how we're expected to fit society's impossible beauty standards, and honestly, I think the group did a great job of doing that. I feel like people are forgetting that Idol wouldn't be Idol without Soyeon, because I found out recently that she literally learned to write and produce so that Idol's debut would not be delayed any longer. Again, I understand if you don't like the problematic things she has said or done, but the fact that she gets more hate for her cringy lyrics and supposedly not letting the members shine than she does for the actual problematic things she's done says a lot about K-pop fans in my opinion. The next person I'll be talking about is Garam, who is a former Lesserafim member. If you were lucky enough to miss out on this entire situation, then long story short, Garam got accused of bullying by an ex-classmate of hers, and instead of just waiting to hear both sides of the story, K-pop fans sent her so much hate to the point where she was kicked out of Lesserafim. Yes, I am blaming K-pop fans for this. I know that HYBE were the ones who actually kicked her out, but they wouldn't have done that if K-pop fans hadn't basically demanded that they do so. K-pop companies always do what the majority of the fans want because obviously that's what makes them the most money. HYBE probably saw that Lesserafim wouldn't be as successful with Garam still in the group with the amount of hate she was getting, and figured that most K-pop fans wanted her out, so they kicked her out. Also, before you think I'm defending HYBE, I would literally never do that. I've been all for HYBE slander ever since G-Friend disbanded in 2021. I'm just pointing out the fact that HYBE are not 100% to blame for Garam being kicked out of the group. Anyway, even to this day, people still hate on Garam even though the accusations were proven to be false. One of the most laughable things I've seen people say in regards to this situation is I prefer Lesserafim as a 5-member group because the dance formations look better. Like, come on, we all know you don't mean that. I understand that formations do look better when a group has an odd amount of members, but no one said this when Sujin was kicked out of Idol, and no one said this when Ray was on hiatus and wasn't performing with the members of IVE, or even if it was a different member of Lesserafim who wasn't performing with the rest of the group, no one would have said this. It's obvious that people were just trying to hide the fact that they were blatantly hating on a 16-year-old who was only 2 weeks into her career. I do really feel sorry for Garam. You think people would learn after the countless bullying accusations that were proven to be false, such as Jimin from AOA, the members of Tiara, Fatao from Black Swan, Kim Woojin, Sujin from Idol and Hyunjin from Stray Kids, but clearly not. I understand wanting to believe the victim because obviously we don't want to believe that someone would pretend to go through something traumatic such as bullying to ruin someone's career, but unfortunately we have to be aware that this does happen. And when we do hear these accusations, we have to stay neutral until we get convincing evidence that proves one side of the story. Next I will be talking about groups as a whole who have got a lot of hate, starting with Aespa. Especially around the time of their debut, many people thought that they were going to flop because they didn't like Black Mamba. Obviously we all have different opinions on whether a song is good or bad, but just because you personally don't like one song by a group, it doesn't automatically mean that group will flop. The fact that Aespa are a group under SM Entertainment, have members who are incredibly talented and pretty and have a unique concept should have made it clear from the beginning that there was no way this group would flop. Also, people love to say how they have bad stage presence just because they don't use their facial expressions. Like I said earlier, facial expressions aren't the only thing you should focus on when judging whether someone has good stage presence or not, and personally, I think that most of Aespa's performances are very enjoyable to watch. Honestly, I feel like Aespa were just another victim of people nitpicking everything a girl group does as soon as they get popular. It particularly seems to happen when it is a girl group from the big three, which could be because people think that they didn't work as hard to become popular, which is obviously not true, by the way. I'm glad that the hate towards Aespa has died down in the past year or two, but it still annoyed me to see them get so much hate around the time of their debut, which is why I wanted to talk about it in this video. Finally, I will be talking about Momoland. I could honestly make an entire video on these girls, and I almost did a few years ago, but I ended up losing all of the footage for that video and I never got around to redoing it. One particular video that I remember was when Momoland were dancing in front of BTS and BTS made it very clear that they were uncomfortable. I understand them feeling this way and I'm not hating on them for having this reaction, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it was made into a meme, when I know if it was the other way around and Momoland had that reaction to BTS, they would have been called disrespectful and been hated on even more than they were at the time. These girls went through so much throughout their career, from allegations of them being disrespectful, people hating on their music, even though the girls had no say in the creative process of their title tracks, bullying accusations, and people were even making fun of the messages they gave to their fans after their disbandment. I swear they were either being hated on or just not talked about at all, which is really upsetting. Another thing that really stands out to me is when people accused Nancy of laughing at Jimin from BTS when his voice cracked, but if you actually watch the video, you'll notice that she was laughing before the voice crack happened. Maybe it's something one of her members said, and when Jimin's voice did crack she immediately stopped. It's another case of K-pop fans editing clips in a way that makes it seem like someone they dislike is a horrible person, and Nancy got so much backlash for this. As much as I love them, I am glad that they disbanded just because MLD are an awful company and did absolutely nothing to protect them from the hate. If you are watching Queendom Puzzle, please support Jui. She's very talented and I feel like she deserves a chance to re-debut, especially because she was one of the main victims of the unnecessary hate against Momoland along with Nancy. Thank you guys so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Please consider subscribing if you liked this video, but only if you don't mind an inconsistent uploading schedule. Have a great day or night and I'll see you in my next video, bye.